Welcome to Surface Knowledge, the only podcast that provides you with useless information for a useful reason. Never again be stuck without an interesting tidbit or fun fact in any social situation. Here's your host, Max Curtin.
Welcome back, everybody, to Surface Knowledge. I hope you're all having a lovely summer so far. This is episode 14. We're 6 away from the end of season 1, and I've been having a think. I've been technically giving you some quote-unquote long episodes the past few weeks. They've been bang on that 30-minute mark, and subject matter's been a bit heavy as well. So I thought I'd make this one a tad shorter and a tad lighter. This week we're heading into the largest, darkest, and most unexplored place on Earth, the deep ocean. And a weird pattern I noticed is that I've already talked quite a bit about oceans this season. I've done Bermuda Triangle, we've done ghost ships, we've done the North Pole, and I have no idea why. Maybe I just have this secret little love for the ocean that I didn't realize about myself. But this time I thought, while we've covered the top, let's just go deep. Let's go as deep as possible. Because our oceans cover more than 70% of our planet's surface, yet we've explored less than 10% of it. In fact, we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the bottom of our own seas. So this episode, we're going to descend into the 5 zones of the deep ocean, from the sunlit surfaces to the lightless trenches miles below. And along the way, we're going to explore alien-like creatures, crushing pressure, undiscovered ecosystems, and why the deep sea might just be Earth's final frontier. It's cold, it's dark, and it's absolutely packed with surprises, which makes it a perfect episode for us, so let's gain a surface knowledge of the deep ocean. Right, friends, close your eyes for me. Just for a second, close your eyes, and imagine you're diving straight down into the ocean. As you descend, the sunlight fades, the pressure builds, and the world around you begins to feel less like Earth and more like deep space. The ocean isn't just one big blue mass, it's divided into 5 distinct layers, each stranger than the last. So we're going to start zone by zone. Oh yeah, you can open your eyes now if you want. I didn't want you closing them for close to 30 minutes, and well, hopefully you're not driving right now. Anyway, level 1 is the sunlit zone. This is the part of the ocean you've probably seen. It stretches from the surface down to about 200 meters. This is enough for sunlight to penetrate. It's warm, it's relatively well lit, and it's home to most of the marine life that we know. You got your dolphins, sea turtles, coral reefs, and the vast majority of fish species. This zone is kind of like the engine room of ocean ecosystems, where photosynthesis happens, thanks to billions of tiny plankton. These microscopic organisms are not only the base of the food chain, they produce more than half of the oxygen that we breathe. But if we go a little bit deeper, the light starts to vanish. Next, we have the twilight zone. This is from 200 to 1,000 meters, where things get just a touch weirder. This is the realm of faint light, not enough for plants to grow, but enough for creatures to make out vague shapes. Temperatures drop, pressure increases, and most animals have evolved for stealth and survival. This is where you're going to find bioluminescence everywhere. Fish that glow, jellyfish that pulse with light, and predators that lure prey with flashing decoys. One of the most bizarre that I saw was the barrel eye fish. It has a transparent head, and the eyes face upwards and they rotate inside the skull. The third zone we have is called the midnight zone. From 1,000 to 4,000 meters, there is no light at all. It's just absolute blackness. This zone is under more than 400 times the pressure of the surface. This is enough to crush a human body instantly. However, like most things on this planet, life does find a way. You've got giant squid, vampire squid, gulper eels, and anglerfish. Many with jaws that unhinge, stomachs that stretch, and organs that glow. This is also the first zone where warm-blooded animals like sperm whales dive to hunt. Number 4, we have the abyssal zone. We're at around 4,000 to 6,000 meters now. The seafloor is flat, it's muddy, and it's vast. It's literally called the abyssal plain. Temperatures hover just above freezing and pressure reaches over 6,000 pounds per square inch. There's no life, no plants, and no mercy. But once again, life clings on. Here you're going to find sea cucumbers, tripod fish, and the legendary sea pig. This is a deep sea relative of the starfish that looks like a pink water balloon, but with legs. And finally, at number 5, we have the Hadal Zone. Named after, obviously, Hades, the Greek god of the underworld. This zone includes ocean trenches and crevices deeper than 6,000 meters, like the Mariana Trench, which bottoms out at nearly 11,000 meters. That is deeper than Mount Everest is tall. This is a crushing alien world, yet scientists have found snailfish, amphibians, and even microbial mats surviving in this pressure cooker environment. Incredibly here, life doesn't just endure, it adapts in a way we're still struggling to understand. Together, these 5 zones make up a layered and very strange world that nearly all of us will never see. Yet it covers more of the planet than all of the continents combined. And the deeper you go, the more it becomes clear that we've barely scratched the surface. So let's look at now why we know so little, because the mystery is the deep ocean is the largest habitat on Earth, yet we've explored less than 10% of it and mapped even less in detail. It's staggering to think about. The reason that it's still such a mystery is, if we take the first thing into account, it's hostile. I mean, really hostile. At just 1,000 meters deep, the pressure is already 100 times what we feel at sea level. Go deeper and it multiplies very fast. By the time you're in the Hadal Zone, the pressure is over 1,000 times what your body is used to. That's like trying to survive with an elephant standing on every square inch of your skin. Electronics, batteries, and steel, they all need special reinforcement just to function, and that makes exploration slow and expensive. Next, we have the darkness. Sunlight only penetrates 200 meters down. Beyond that, you're working in pitch black, meaning that anything you want to observe needs its own lighting, which can alter or scare off what you're even trying to study. It's like trying to do wildlife photography in a cave where the wildlife hates flash photography. And then also, the ocean is really big. It's really, really big. The deep sea alone accounts for about 95% of the ocean's volume. And because it's underwater, satellite mapping, the thing that made Google Earth possible, doesn't work here. Mapping the seafloor requires sonar, which is slow, localized, and very expensive. One of the first serious attempts to explore the deep was the Bathyscaphe Trieste. This was a submersible that in 1960 carried Swiss engineer Jacques Piccard, make it so, and US Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. At nearly 11,000 meters deep, they stayed for just 20 minutes, long enough to prove life existed there, but not much else. Fast forward to 2012, when James Cameron, yes, the film director, made a solo dive to the same spot in his custom-built deep-sea Challenger. He was the first person to make the descent alone, and his footage provided a rare glimpse of that crushing world. Then in 2019, explorer Victor Vescovo took it further. Using the DSV limiting factor, he not only reached the bottom of the Mariana Trench, he went there repeatedly and visited the deepest points of all 5 oceans. These aren't just record-breaking dives, they're critical to mapping, sampling, and understanding what's down there. Today, autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs, and remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, are filling in the gaps. These robotic explorers can go deeper, longer, and safer than humans. They're starting to map in detail, record life we've never seen before, and collect data even in the most remote trenches. And that's the whole point, we're just getting started. With better tech, better funding, and rising interest, we may be on the edge of a new era of deep ocean discovery. Now, I've thrown around the term alien and different planet in describing certain aspects in this episode, and that's because if the deep ocean feels like another planet, it's because life down there acts like it came from one. No sunlight, crushing pressure, freezing cold, and yet still life thrives in ways that defy what we thought was biologically possible. Let's start with one of the most iconic deep-sea features, bioluminescence. While it feels exotic on land, it's absolutely normal down there. In fact, around 90% of deep sea creatures glow. They use light to communicate, to lure prey, to camouflage, or to confuse predators. Some flash like strobes, others drift with a constant soft glow, and many can control the light's color, shape, and intensity. One great example is the stoplight loosejaw fish, which can shine red, a color most other deep sea animals can't even see. That makes it invisible to prey while giving it night vision in the dark. And creatures in the deep don't just glow, they look quite unreal. There's the vampire squid, which isn't a vampire or a squid, quite disappointingly, but it does have these cloak-like arms and glowing tips it can flash like a disco ball. Then there's the gulper eel, which can unhinge its jaw and inflate its stomach like a balloon to swallow prey larger than itself. And the anglerfish, probably the most terrifying, uses a glowing lure to attract prey to a mouth full of teeth and nightmares. And these aren't rare exceptions. Down there, that's just business as usual. In the late 1970s, scientists discovered something that rewrote biology textbooks: hydrothermal vents. These are cracks in the ocean floor that spew superheated, mineral-rich water. But instead of killing everything, these vents are teeming with life. Because down here, as you might have guessed, life doesn't rely on sunlight. It uses chemosynthesis, a process where bacteria convert chemicals like hydrogen sulfide into energy. These bacteria form the base of a new kind of food chain. From there, you get entire communities of creatures: giant tube worms who are over 6 feet long, yeti crabs with furry arms that grow bacterial gardens, and deep-sea clams the size of dinner plates. These ecosystems exist in complete darkness under extreme pressure, yet they're stable, complex, and thriving. Elsewhere in the deep, other specialists do the cleanup. Let's introduce you to the zombie worm. This feeds on whale bones by secreting acid to dissolve the bone and absorb the nutrients. They've got no eyes, no mouth, and they rely on symbiotic bacteria to digest fat. Or the sea pig that looks like a pink squishy vacuum cleaner. It walks along the abyssal plain, hoovering up organic particles that fall from above in what scientists call marine snow. Now, these creatures aren't just bizarre or funny to look at, they're very important. Some deep-sea bacteria shows promise for cancer treatments, others can digest plastics or survive in conditions that mimic those on other planets. And deep ocean ecosystems play a critical role in carbon cycling, which affects our climate. The more we study life in the deep, the more we realize it could hold answers to big planetary questions, from survival in extreme environments to new sources of medicine and energy. Now, we often imagine the deep ocean as this untouched landscape, pristine, isolated, and too remote for any human interference. But that's a very dangerous myth, because even at the bottom of the ocean, we have left our fingerprints. In 2018, scientists found microplastics in small crustaceans collected from the Mariana Trench, nearly 11,000 meters down. That is the deepest point on Earth, and it already has our trash. Plastic waste, fishing lines, and chemical pollutants have been discovered across all 5 ocean basins, even in places that no human has ever set foot. These pollutants don't just exist, they're being ingested by deep-sea creatures and entering ecosystems that we barely understand. One of the biggest looming threats is deep-sea mining. Corporations are eyeing the abyss for manganese nodules. These are potato-sized mineral deposits that are rich in cobalt, nickel, and rare earth elements. These materials are essential for batteries, smartphones, and, quite ironically, green tech. Problem is, these nodules form over millions of years, and the ecosystems surrounding them, from the sea cucumbers to the microbial mats, are very delicate. They're poorly understood, and they're potentially irreplaceable. The mining process involves giant machines scraping the sea floor, stirring up plumes of sediment that can smother life, disrupt feeding patterns, and pollute areas far from the original site. As of now, deep-sea mining is not widespread, but exploratory licenses have already been granted, and the International Seabed Authority is under pressure to finalize regulations. Industrial bottom trawling, which is dragging massive nets across the sea floor, destroys fragile habitats and coral structures that can be thousands of years old. Species like orange ruhi and deep water sharks are often targeted because they live long and reproduce slowly, making them incredibly vulnerable to overfishing. Deep sea ecosystems take centuries to recover if they recover at all. In 2023, the UN High Seas Treaty was signed. Now, this was the first international agreement to protect biodiversity in international waters. This makes up about 2/3 of the ocean. This kind of gives a little bit of hope for creating marine protected areas and regulating destructive practices. But the treaty is new, and enforcement remains a challenge. Scientists, meanwhile, are racing to study and catalog species before they're impacted, because it's hard to protect what you haven't even discovered yet. Now, the good news, because I've been told I can be a bit of a Debbie Downer when I get on my moral compass, is that technology is catching up. We have new autonomous drones and mapping systems are revealing more of the ocean floor every single year. The hope is that with more knowledge comes more respect and pressure to protect. Because the deep ocean, while it may seem distant, it affects our weather, climate, food chains, and global carbon cycles. Because what happens down there ripples up here. And we're just starting to understand this world beneath the waves, when we're already at risk of damaging it beyond repair. And that's been your surface knowledge of the deep ocean, my friends, the largest, least explored, and most alien environment on Earth. We've gone from the sunlit shallows to the pitch black trenches, through glowing creatures, crushing pressure, and ecosystems that run without sunlight. We've seen just how much mystery still lies below the surface, and how much impact we're already having on it. For all of our satellites and science, we still know shockingly little about the deep sea, but we do know this: it plays such a vital role in regulating our planet's systems. It stores carbon, it buffers climate change, it cycles nutrients, and it may even hold medical and technological breakthroughs. If you did enjoy this episode, follow, rate, and share it. You can find Surface Knowledge on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Blue Sky at Surface Knowledge Pod. And get in touch at gottil5@gmail.com if you've got deep sea stories or any future topic suggestions. Coming up next week is the surface knowledge of the Roman Empire.
You've been listening to the Surface Knowledge Podcast, part of the GT5 network. Be sure to subscribe and rate on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. We'll see you back here soon for another episode. Until next time, stay curious.